Module 1, Introduction to Animation. Overview of animation principles and techniques. Animation is a form of visual storytelling that involves creating the illusion of motion through a series of still images or frames. It is a diverse and dynamic field with a wide range of animation principles and techniques used to bring characters, objects, and scenes to life. Here is an overview of some of the key animation principles and techniques. 1. Squash and stretch. This principle adds exaggeration and flexibility to objects or characters, giving them a sense of weight, elasticity, and vitality. For example, when a character jumps, their body might squash as they land and stretch as they take off, creating a more dynamic and expressive motion. 2. Timing and spacing. Timing refers to the speed of an action or movement, while spacing determines the distance between keyframes. The proper use of timing and spacing can create a sense of rhythm and pace in animation, affecting the overall mood and feel of a scene. 3. Anticipation. Anticipation is used to prepare the audience for an upcoming action or movement. It can be subtle, like a slight movement of the character's body before a big jump, or more pronounced, like a wind-up before throwing a ball. Anticipation helps to make actions more believable and adds an element of anticipation for the audience. 4. Follow-through and overlapping action. Follow-through is the continuation of a character's motion after the main action has stopped, while overlapping action refers to different parts of a character's body moving at different speeds. Both techniques add naturalness and weight to movements, making them feel more realistic. 5. Pose-to-pose and straight-ahead animation. Pose-to-pose animation involves planning and creating key poses first, then filling in the in-between frames, while straight-ahead animation involves drawing or animating frames one after another without a fixed plan. Both techniques have their strengths and are used in different situations, with pose-to-pose allowing for more control and straight-ahead animation resulting in more spontaneity and improvisation. 6. Arcs. Arcs are the paths that objects or characters follow in their movements. They are used to create smooth and natural motions, as most real-world movements tend to follow curved paths rather than straight lines. Paying attention to the arcs of motion can greatly enhance the realism and fluidity of animations. 7. Exaggeration. Exaggeration is used to emphasize actions or movements, making them more expressive and visually appealing. It can be used to create comedic effects or to heighten drama and emotion in storytelling. 8. Secondary animation. Secondary animation refers to the motion of elements that are not the primary focus of a scene, such as hair, clothing, or objects affected by the main action. Adding secondary animation can make scenes more visually interesting and add depth to characters and objects. 9. Stop-motion animation. Stop-motion animation involves taking a series of photographs or frames of physical objects or puppets, moving them slightly between each frame, and then playing them back as a sequence to create the illusion of motion. Stop-motion techniques include claymation, puppet animation, and cutout animation. 10. Computer-generated animation. Computer-generated animation involves using software and digital tools to create 2D or 3D animations. Techniques include keyframe animation, motion capture, and physics-based simulations. Computer-generated animation is widely used in feature films, television shows, video games, and other media. These are just some of the many animation principles and techniques used in the field of animation. Animators often combine and adapt these techniques to suit their creative vision and the needs of their projects, resulting in a diverse and constantly evolving medium of visual storytelling. History of animation. The history of animation dates back thousands of years, with early examples of animation techniques used in cave paintings, pottery, and other ancient art forms. However, the development of animation as a distinct art form and industry began in the late 19th century and has since evolved into a major entertainment medium with a rich and fascinating history. Here's a brief overview of the key milestones in the history of animation. 1. Early animation devices. Late 19th century. In the late 1800s, inventors such as Thomas Edison, Émile Reynaud, and others developed various devices and techniques for creating moving images. These included the zoetrope, a spinning drum with slits that created the illusion of motion when viewed through the slits, and the praxinoscope, a similar device that used mirrors to reflect images and create animated sequences. 2. Silent era animation, 1900s to 1920s. The early 20th century saw the rise of silent era animation, with pioneers such as J. Stuart Blackton, Winsor McCay, and Paul Terry creating animated films using techniques such as hand-drawn animation and stop-motion animation with cutout characters. One of the most famous early animation characters was Gertie the Dinosaur, created by Winsor McCay in 1914. 3. Walt Disney and the Golden Age of Animation, 1920s to 1960s. In the 1920s, Walt Disney and his brother Roy Disney founded the Disney Studio and introduced synchronized sound and color to animation with their first synchronized sound cartoon, Steamboat Willie, featuring the iconic character Mickey Mouse. This marked the beginning of the Golden Age of Animation, during which Disney and other studios such as Warner Brothers, Fleischer Studios, and MGM produced numerous memorable characters and cartoons. 4. Technological advances, 1930s to 1950s. During the 1930s to 1950s, animation saw significant technological advancements, including the introduction of cell animation, which allowed for more efficient production and smoother movements, and the development of multiplane cameras that added depth to animated films. These innovations expanded the creative possibilities of animation and led to the production of more sophisticated and visually stunning animated films. 5. Television animation, 1950s to 1960s. In the 1950s and 1960s, animation started to gain popularity on television with the production of animated TV shows such as The Flintstones, The Jetsons, and Scooby-Doo. Television provided a new platform for animation to reach wider audiences and opened up opportunities for different animation styles and storytelling formats. 6. Japanese animation, 1960s to 1980s. Japanese animation, known as anime, emerged as a significant force in the animation industry during the 1960s to 1980s. Anime brought distinctive art styles, complex narratives, and diverse genres to animation, gaining a dedicated global fanbase and influencing animation around the world. 7. Digital animation, 1980s present. The advent of digital technology in the 1980s revolutionized animation, making it more accessible and cost-effective. Computer-generated animation, or CGI, became increasingly prevalent in films, TV shows, and video games, allowing for realistic 3D animation and visual effects. Today, digital animation continues to push the boundaries of what is possible in animation, with advancements in computer graphics, motion capture, and virtual reality. 8. Contemporary animation, 1990s present. In recent decades, animation has continued to thrive as a diverse and dynamic medium, with a wide range of styles, genres, and techniques. Animated films such as Toy Story, Frozen, and Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse have become box office successes, and animated TV shows, web series, and online content have gained widespread popularity. Comparison of traditional and digital animation. Traditional animation and digital animation are two different approaches to creating animated content. While both methods involve the use of images or frames to create the illusion of motion, there are several key differences between traditional and digital animation. Here's a comparison of the two. 1. Technique. Traditional animation typically involves hand-drawn or hand-painted images created on paper or celluloid sheets, cells, which are then photographed or scanned to create the final animation. This process requires skilled artists to draw and paint each frame by hand, resulting in a unique and organic look. On the other hand, digital animation involves the use of computer software and hardware to create images and animations. Digital animators work with digital drawing tablets, 3D modeling software, and other digital tools to create their animations. 2. Workflow. In traditional animation, the process involves creating the keyframes, which are the main poses or positions in the animation, and then filling in the frames in between, known as tweening. This process requires careful planning and skill in creating smooth transitions between frames. Digital animation, on the other hand, often uses a timeline-based workflow, where animators can manipulate and edit the images and frames directly on the computer screen. Digital animation allows for easier manipulation and modification of frames, making it more flexible and efficient in terms of workflow. 3. Visual style. Traditional animation has a unique visual charm and can have a handcrafted, artistic quality to it. The use of hand-drawn or hand-painted images gives traditional animation a distinctive look with imperfections, textures, and nuances that can add character and personality to the animation. Digital animation, on the other hand, can have a cleaner and more polished look, with precise lines, colors, and effects that can be easily edited and modified. 4. Flexibility. Digital animation offers more flexibility in terms of making changes and corrections during the production process. Animators can easily modify frames, adjust timings, and make edits without having to redraw or repaint entire sequences. Traditional animation, on the other hand, can be more time-consuming and labor-intensive to make changes, as each frame needs to be redrawn or repainted by hand. 5. 3D animation. Digital animation has opened up the possibilities for 3D animation, where animators can create three-dimensional characters and objects in a virtual environment. 3D animation allows for more realistic and dynamic movements, as well as the ability to create complex camera angles and perspectives. Traditional animation, on the other hand, is typically limited to 2D animations. 6. Distribution and accessibility. Digital animation has made it easier to distribute and share animated content online through various platforms, such as websites, social media, and streaming services. Digital animations can be easily shared, copied, and distributed without the need for physical copies. Traditional animation, on the other hand, often requires physical prints or celluloid sheets for distribution, which can be more costly and time-consuming. In summary, traditional animation and digital animation are two distinct approaches to creating animated content, each with its own strengths and limitations. Traditional animation offers a unique visual style, artistic quality, and requires skilled craftsmanship, while digital animation provides flexibility, efficiency, and the ability to create 3D animations. Both methods have their place in the animation industry and are used by animators depending on their creative vision and project requirements.
Thanks for watching. For more information, like, comment, and subscribe our channel.